I'm afraid that Joe Burrow is going to realize, hey, I'm in the prime of my career, and I don't think that this is giving me the best chance to get where I want to be.
We're on the same wavelength because I wanted to ask you, what are the chances in your mind that in 3 years Joe Burrow's playing for the Bengals? Hey there. Welcome to Fitz and Whit. I'm Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I'm joined by my buddy Andrew Whitworth, and this is a Wave Original. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to give us 5 stars. Follow the show on social media at Fitz and Whit. That's Fitz, A-N-D, Whit. New episodes every Wednesday.
Our guest today is a Bengals fanatic. He's a pop music legend, host of The Ultimatum and The Perfect Match, and host of Love is Blind, with new episodes out now. Give a big Fitz and Whit welcome to my man, Nick Lachey, baby. Let's go.
What's up?
What is up? Yes.
Appreciate you having me, guys.
We finally did it. We got you on the pod. Before we talk about the Bengals, though, I have one question I've always been curious about.
Shoot.
With as many shows as you've been on and now hosting as many shows as you do, I was on The League for one episode, and every year I get residual checks for like $9. What? I mean, you got to be getting 1 million residual checks.
You know what? I don't think I am, sadly. It's funny because a lot of actors out here in LA, you get those small residual checks. There's actually a bar in Studio City called Residuals. And it doesn't matter if the residual check's for 1 cent. If you bring it in, they'll give you a beer. It's kind of what they hang their hat on. So it's there's a lot of people out here getting those. I don't know that I am, though. I don't know that I'm.
Okay, so what you're telling me is once you reach a certain level, you're just getting paid.
Who cares?
Either that or my manager's stealing from me. One of the two. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to take my $9.31 to residuals.
Head to
residuals. To get a few beers.
I'll take care of you.
Nice.
I love it.
All right, let's get into the Bengals talk here. Gosh, we get Joe Burrow. You go to the Super Bowl in year 2, and then unfortunately he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. It's been up and down every year. Where are you at right now with your Bengals fandom?
Yeah, I mean, pretty frustrated. I've been maybe more vocal than I should be about how frustrated I am, and even wrote a little song about how frustrated I am, and urging, when you're a singer, it's how you have to express yourself. So, I take all it's very cathartic, take all my frustration and energy and put it into a song. But no, it honestly, it's not just the Burrow era that is frustrating. It's my entire life as a Bengals fan, which is, pretty much 45 years, worth now. It's just, you feel like you're in a vicious cycle. And there's just this snake bit element of the franchise that we can't seem to get out from under. And I've talked about this a lot, but what's interesting is that I've never talked about it with two guys who've actually played for the team. I mean, the two of you know way better than I ever will what it's like to be a part of that franchise. And I'm expecting that the frustration that comes along with it is not just something that the fans experience, but also probably something that players experience as well. It's just, at some point, I feel like enough's enough. I got to at least say something and get it off my chest. So that's what I, chose to do. And the response from people, fans, has been, hey, we couldn't agree more, across the board. It's just hard. It's hard being a Bengals fan. It is.
When did you start becoming a Bengals fan, Nick?
It was Super Bowl 16. So 82 Super Bowl, basically, when I was probably 8 years old, is when I first started kind of, getting into football. When they put the stripes on the helmets, that was the year that I jumped on board. No, but look, and you grew up in Cincinnati, you're a Bengals fan. It's a part of the culture. It's a part, football in Ohio is almost religion. And so we love our football. We love our Bengals. We just wish we had more to get excited about year in and year out than we have.
It feels like you just want to interview Whit here. We got to ask Whit some tough questions about the Bengals.
I've been there, done that.
I mean, it's, and I think I actually use Whit as a perfect example of why I think we're suffering. And again, you guys will know more than I do, but our talent evaluation seems to be really, really, really lacking, right? And it's not just our collegiate evaluation and in terms of the draft. I mean, Joe Burrow is a no-brainer, and he's the perfect guy to be the quarterback in Cincinnati. He's an Ohio kid. He knows what Ohio's about. Guys like Carson Palmer, a Southern California kid, all the talent in the world, but never liked Cincinnati, never wanted to be in Cincinnati. Burrow's a different guy, but you can't miss on that pick. It's the other picks that we just can't seem to evaluate collegiate talent. But then to have a guy like Whit, who is a guy who loves Cincinnati, ingrained himself into the culture of Cincinnati, into the landscape, and was correct me if I'm wrong, but was perfectly fine with spending his entire career there. And we can't even evaluate him, and we let him go to the Rams and turn around and become an All-Pro year in, year out, and win Walter Payton Man of the Year, and then ultimately turn around and be a part of the team that beats us in the Super Bowl. So it's like we can't seem to evaluate talent collegiately or the talent that's on our own team. Which is truly frustrating, And I think the idea that, hey, we're spending X amount of, our cap, that's all mandated by the league. You have to. And there was a time when the Bengals didn't have to, and I actually went and met with Ray Anderson at the league office and expressed my frustration.
Oh, wow.
With him.
You're not playing around. I love this.
No, because the Bengals were sitting around, they were just, with revenue sharing, everyone's got the money, right? They're turning around and pocketing the money. So when they put that floor in, well, of course the Bengals have to spend X amount of dollars on salary. Everyone does. But what they aren't investing in my opinion, is scouting. I mean, I think we've got the smallest, if not one of the smallest scouting departments in the entire league. That's money that needs to be invested. And I would argue that you're actually costing yourself more money because you're making bad picks, giving these guys deals that aren't working out. Spend the money, invest in the scouting, and you're going to end up with a better result and ultimately end up saving yourself money, I would think. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one to, really go after, because to me, I think it's more that one. I think it's a lot of people can start to evaluate, well, who they've drafted, how they've spent their money. And you could start to compare across the league. And maybe there's hey, there's other teams that are in the similar boat. But when you really talk about how are we improving, I've always said this when I was there. It wasn't about you guys letting me leave. It wasn't like I was so mad at Cincinnati for letting me go. Obviously, that happened almost a year before that. But what I was always disappointed in is I look, Nick, and you know this, from 11 to 15, we go on this playoff run where we are competitive every year. And you look at our team, and it was like, man, where's that run where you just go, dude, we got a lot of talent and a lot of ability. Let's go spend a couple picks and get this elite guy. Let's jump in free agency and take an aggressive move and say, we're going to go after this guy and it's going to add that piece. It's going to get this team to the Super Bowl. There was never this other move, because if you really look at those years, it was really about draft picks, and they drafted extremely well. They had some veterans that they had gotten before they had those draft picks that they kind of retained and kept around. And that was really that team. There was never this massive investment in free agency to make that team a whole lot better, or through trades or anything else. And I understand some of the NFL era wasn't that, but it was, man, do we ever feel like there's this aggression by not the coaches, not the players, the people who own the team, who operate it on a daily basis? As a company, we're going to shoot our shot this couple years and really try to make a run. And you just feel like you're always missing that. I would argue Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, those are no-brainers.
Exactly.
Everybody understands why you sign those. But where's the other aggression that you want to see, whether that's developing the front office, whether that's finding ways to have more scouts and more ability to evaluate talent, acknowledging, I said this on Thursday Night Football, the last lineman that they drafted and signed to a second contract was my buddy Clint Bowling in 2011. That's the last guy they home drafted, signed him to a second deal. That's forever ago. We got to be able to evaluate linemen, draft our own, and keep them in-house and keep them as Cincinnati Bengals. And then you look in the most recent years, it's the D-line. No ability to draft guys that can help us.
Well, and you would argue guys like Stewart, who I think was an underachiever at A&M, right? He said all the talent in the world, never lived up to his potential. Well, what about the Bengals' history gives you the impression that we can find this guy and somehow bring the best out of him and develop him? We can't do it. And so, what are we doing? We need to draft a sure thing, because we have no chance of developing anybody, it doesn't seem like. And you're absolutely right. There's certain guys, certain owners who hate losing, just like a player hates losing. Mike Brown is not that guy. I think he would prefer not to lose, but he doesn't hate losing, and he's not going to do whatever it takes to not lose and to win. He's fine knowing that, hey, I'm making billions of dollars. And if we, every now and then we'll catch lightning in a bottle and we'll make a run, maybe make a Super Bowl. And that'll keep the fan base engaged long enough for me to let this cycle play out again. It doesn't seem like our ownership cares enough to do the necessary things to win in this league and create a winning culture in this league. Guys want to come to Cincinnati now because Joe Burrow's there, period. Nobody wants to come to Cincinnati because they want to play for the Bengals. They want to play with Joe Burrow, and they think that Joe Burrow is going to give them a chance to reach the promised land. But that's not a winning culture that they're trying to build. That's a lightning in a bottle situation, the perfect guy for the perfect moment. And I'm afraid that, like Carson, ultimately in the end, who chose to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. I'm afraid that Joe Burrow is going to realize, hey, I'm in the prime of my career, and I don't think that this is giving me the best chance to get where I want to be.
Nick,
and he's going to throw down. He's going to throw down the
same
gauntlet.
wavelength here.
Yeah.
We're on the same wavelength because I wanted to ask you, what are the chances in your mind that in 3 years Joe Burrow's playing for the Bengals?
You know what? I've heard some people, and I don't think it's, unless something changes. And changes in a big way, I don't think it's a strong chance, because I think he's the kind of guy who is the ultimate competitor. And Whit, you've told me this about him before. You know, he wants to win, period.
Oh, yeah, there's no
question. I think he would love to win there. I think he would love to finish kind of what he started there. But unless he sees some, and we saw the cracks in the foundation a little bit this year, and he did a good job of kind of backpedaling out of it, I think. But look, the guy wants to win. And if he doesn't think it can happen there, then at some point he's going to get frustrated to the point of having to kind of throw down an ultimatum. Not to plug a show I host on Netflix or anything, but well
done. That was a good job.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you. But no, I mean, I think that's the sad thing. And you hear some people say, well, you know what they should do? They should trade Joe. They should trade Chase. They should get a bunch of draft picks and retool. What in the world gives you the impression we would know what to do with those draft picks? Are you crazy? Yeah. I mean, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. So it's truly frustrating. I don't have any hope that this ownership can ever turn it around, which is why I've kind of put myself out there through song to say, hey, you know what? You've made billions of dollars, billions. All right, take the money and run. Go, walk off into the sunset. I think the city of Cincinnati would celebrate Mike Brown in a way he's never been celebrated if he sold the team locally and gave someone else a chance to come in and build a winner. And people are scared the team will move. I get that. It's like Cincinnati's a small market. If he sells the team, careful what you wish for. There's plenty of money in Cincinnati. There's plenty of local people who want to be a part of owning an NFL team, who would keep the team there and give it a chance to be the successful team it could be and should be, honestly. I mean, it's a hotbed of football. How in the world are the Bengals not more successful? It's because ownership doesn't care.
Yeah, I think in professional sports, you have to be careful, kind of your point about Joe, that people, they accept mediocrity sometimes. And there's athletes that say, hey, you know what, I'm getting the check and I'll accept it. And then there's guys that just flat out don't. Nick Saban's famous for saying, like, mediocre people don't understand overachievers and overachievers can't stand mediocre people. Like, the reality is Joe Burrow is one of those guys who's an overachiever. He wants to win in every freaking thing he does. He wants to be really good at it. And so when you match that with an owner who might not be wired like that, like, listen, Mike Brown was always good to me. I will say that. He was always very upfront and very honest with me, and I got a lot of appreciation for that. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that he lived with the same just drive that I have to be good or get out of my damn way that Joe Burrow lives his life with. And so that when those things don't match up, there will always be some version of conflict. Because the one thing, Fitz and I've been in the NFL long enough to know is there will be adversity, there will be conflict. Like, that is playing in the league. Like, that is the reality of it. And so when you're on the same page and everyone kind of has that same mindset, it's a lot easier for things to work. So I think that's the biggest challenge that Cincinnati is going to face, is they've got to find ways to make this better. And it's not that they haven't tried. I mean, they've tried some draft picks. They just haven't done very well at it. And I think that's been the biggest struggle, is how much they've missed in a lot of these defensive draft picks.
Look, if you're going to spend all that money on the offensive side of the ball, it's a numbers game, right? You have to hit on your draft picks. You have to hit on those guys on those rookie contracts, and we simply haven't. And look, Marvin, I think when he was there, you can argue he didn't get us out of the first round of playoffs, but I think evaluating talent and being a part of making great picks, we had some great draft picks. To your point earlier, when he was there, we just aren't doing it anymore. And to say, hey, we're fine with it. Duke's going to be back. Zach's going to be back. We're totally fine with how this is playing out.
Status quo.
It's the status quo. There's people that are like, you know what? And one just played in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, all right, 1 year coach in New England, out. Vrabel's our guy, comes in, changes the culture in the Super Bowl. Obviously, it didn't turn out the way they wanted. But sometimes when things aren't working, you got to shift gears, right? And to say to the city of Cincinnati, you know what? No, we're fine. We're fine with the status quo. We're fine with how things are. It's simply saying you are fine with stinking. You're fine with underachieving. You're fine with not making the grade the way you should be. And I think that's the wrong message to send. I mean, we've supported the fans of Cincinnati, hard-working, blue-collar people that spent their hard-earned money, season ticket holders, through decades of horrible football. He has 8 winning seasons in 35 years of owning that team. 8. 8 winning seasons. I mean, there's been a lot of bad football, and we've always supported the team. We've always come out. I mean, the stadium deal they got is absolutely obscene in terms of the way the county is shown up for the team. So I just think, man, you gotta, I mean, meet people. It's like an abusive relationship in a way. Like the city of Cincinnati loves the Bengals, but I'm not sure the Bengals love us back. You know what I mean? And by that, I mean ownership doesn't love us back. And that's sad, you know?
Yeah. Well, I gotta go ahead and apologize for 2008. I went 4-7 and I did my best.
We gave it an effort.
Time as a real starter, you know, Carson goes down, but hey, are your kids Bengals fans?
You know, it's my son, my oldest son, got into football around the same age I did, right? Of course, and that's the year we go. His first ever game we play. I take him to Cincinnati. I came in for college game day when the Bearcats were first ever college game day. I take him to the Bengals-Browns game, and I mean, it just, I don't know what happened, but we got the doors blown off of us that day. And he's crying. I'm like, buddy, just welcome to being a Bengals fan. This is how it goes. You know what I mean? And 3 months later, we're in the Super Bowl. So he thinks it's the greatest thing ever. You know, he gets into football year. They go to the Super Bowl. We go to the Super Bowl. Of course, we lose to Whit and the Rams. I've kind of said, hey, you know what, guys? I don't know if I want you to follow me down this road. You know what I mean? Like, feel free to pick whatever team you want. I love the Bengals, and they, because of me, do too. But like my youngest is a huge Seahawks fan. Way before they went to the Super Bowl. You know, we were at the Thursday night game in Seattle. Unbelievable night for my son and I. I mean, and so I'm happy that they're kind of investing themselves in other teams because it's been a frustrating run, man. And I'm not just saying this for, you know, for shock value. I think unless Mike Brown sells the team, nothing's going to change, you know? So as much as I love the Bengals, I'm not mad at them for going a different direction. That's for sure.
Do your kids think you're cool?
No.
What? No. There's no way.
No.
Join the club.
No, I'm a dad. You know, I'm just dad.
Yep.
I'm not cool. No. Every now and then, the only time they thought I was cool was when I won the Masked Singer. They thought that was the cool.
Yeah.
Me dressing up as a giant pig on television is the thing it took for my kids to think that I was even remotely cool.
I can share in that because I'll be sitting around now and the kids like AD will come on the screen or whoever and they'll just be like, hey, Dad, did you know AD? And I'm like, Aaron Donald, son, I played with him on the team. And they're like, yeah, I just didn't know if like y'all knew each other. I'm like, dude, what? Like, yes, we know each other.
Yeah.
We're in the same locker room, right? It's like you get asked those kind of questions. You're like, yes, kids, like I was there. Yes, I do know those people. Just a little bit. But it's the same way. It
was funny. I showed them an old, because they don't think I'm cool. So I said, let me show you something. You know, Dad caught a pass from Dan Marino once. Like, what? Ooh. And I showed them the old Rock and Jock, games. And I caught a pass from Marino in the game and was playing against Nelly. And they're like, oh, Dad, this is cool. So it's like you have those small moments where you do something they actually respect. But day in, day out.
Did they speak to you? Did Dan Marino say hey to you?
Yeah.
Well, he threw me a ball, son. So yes.
Not to get away too much from the Bengals here, but we both got daughters that are just perpetually embarrassed by us.
Oh.
You know, for me, it's like Thursday night football. My shirt comes off. My daughter is like, what are we doing, Dad? Like, I got to go to school. I'm not sure if you still have anything like that. I know, you know, obviously you and your wife both are very public figures.
My daughter's still pretty enamored with me. I haven't done anything to screw that up yet. Yeah, but she's also
don't get your chest waxed on national TV. Okay?
Well, you know,
didn't go over well.
It's coming though. But it is cool, like still to go out there and do a concert every now and then, and for them to see you on stage and like, oh wow, okay, people actually show up to hear Dad sing. And there's moments, there's little small moments where they actually think I'm kind of cool, but for the most part, I'm just Dad, you know, telling corny jokes and and being an idiot. That's what we do.
I don't even know if you know this, but when I signed with the Rams, I'm leaving Cincinnati, and now I kind of realized, I always knew Nick was obviously a big fan. We had met way back in 06, 07 when I was playing there. Yep. Got to know each other, but when I signed with the Rams, that was the only person I knew that lived in Los Angeles. I'm like, all right, it's him and a girlfriend of mine at LSU, one of my best friends, Jen Birmingham, when I was in school there. And I literally was like, all right, I'm going to text these two people. Melissa and I have never been to LA. We're going to text them and be like, where do we live? Where do we go? All these things I'll never forget. So Nick was like the first person I reached out to trying to find my footing in LA. And I'll never forget him telling me too. And you were right. I was like, man, the facilities out in this area, I think we're going to live in like Westlake. And he's like, dude, I'm just telling you, that is like the sweet spot. You're going to love living there. You're going to be so freaking happy because you can do anything you want. The beach, wherever you want to go, you can go from right there. You were right. We have bought home, and as Fitz would say, there's a new version of Whit from the one he knew in Cincinnati.
The glow up.
Yeah. No, it's good living out here, man. As you've come to learn, and it's especially out there, it's great for families. It's a great place to be. And look, the Rams are a perfect example of a team that and I've been a Rams fan since I was a kid. Since I saw Eric Dickerson on the cover of Pro Magazine when I was a kid. Of course, Bengals first, but the Rams have always been my second team. And there was a long time that I think the Rams and the Bengals were the two losingest franchises of the 90s. And that's a fact by record. And look what, the Rams have turned that around into now they're one of the most coveted, the most respected organizations in the entire league. And that came with, a change of ownership. And I think that the Bengals can be the same thing, but something's got to give. Beating our head against the wall year in and year out is not working. So, yeah.
What do you if your kids play sports, like, are you supportive of that? Are you from the sideline?
Yeah. No, I'm a huge sports fan.
Feeling it.
My oldest son is incredibly athletic, but also incredibly unmotivated to play sports. So it's that fine line between like trying not to project my passion. I always tell him, I said, if I had an ounce of your talent, I would have played football as much as I could have. But but he's, I love it, but I try not to push it on him, if that makes any sense. I'm not the psychopath on the sideline. I try to keep it,
What about the car ride back? Because Fitz and I have trouble with the boys. Just on the car ride back, and we talk about the difference in our girls and our boys. It's like on the car ride back with the boys, it's just like, it feels like it's a lecture the whole way home. And then with the girls, we're just like, you want to grab some ice cream? It's like, you could do no wrong. Like there is nothing you could ever do wrong.
Yeah, my daughter is actually probably the most competitive of the three kids in sports. But yesterday at her soccer game, I said, "Baby, when you're create some space. You have to have a passing lane. If you're up on your teammate with the ball, create some space." And she looked at me with daggers in her eyes and basically walked away. And I looked at Vanessa. I said, "That is your daughter. Neither one of you listen to a thing I say."
Yes.
So it doesn't. It doesn't matter. I saw Joe Montana once. He gave a quote, and I thought it was one of the best quotes ever. And it's like, my son, I can tell him anything I want about quarterbacking, and he doesn't care what I say. I mean, it doesn't, to him, I'm just dad. You know what I mean? Greatest quarterback of all time, arguably. But his son could care less what he said in terms of how to play the position, because to him, he's just dad, And there's something cool about that. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you just want to be dad,
Yeah. Do you get into this Love is Blind stuff? Are you guys like caught up in these relationships as it's going on?
You know what? First season, we were really, really invested, and we were there on set all the time, and kind of were part of all the inner workings. And now we actually, to prepare for the reunion, we watched the season down almost like everybody else does. And we're not there as it's happening. So we're like as invested as viewers, just like everybody else. But yeah, I compare it to like your child, right? It was a show that when you sign on to do a show, you don't know how it's going to work or if it's going to work at all. And to see it kind of grow and blossom into this thing now that is in its 10th season, we have a lot of pride in being a part of that from the beginning, and just very humbled to still be the host of that show. And we want the best for all of them. Obviously, it's when people break up and get divorced, I mean it does hurt. It hurts us personally because we seriously want the best for everybody who signs on to do it. But at the end of the day, it's some work and some don't. That's just kind of the nature of the beast in general.
Let me ask you this then. I mean, do you think the Bengals would be better off eliminating the scouting process? Maybe just going with the Love is Blind theme, just interview blindly?
Well,
with that, do you think we'd have a better chance?
I've joked before.
Increase our odds?
I've joked before. I've said, I've learned that Love is Blind and Duke Tobin is also.
Oh, gosh.
There it is, the title of the episode.
Wow, that's right there.
We can't do much worse than we have, to be honest. So, maybe we just throw darts at a board and see what happens.
Just look at whoever PFF has graded. Just do the grades from PFF.
Just do PFF
just
grades.
Do that.
Who cares?
That's easy enough. Okay, no residuals. What about royalties?
Well, so in music, you got some royalties out there. You got to go chase those down, though. No one will just say, "Hey, by the way, you made some money." You got to hire a lawyer and go audit people and go find the money. It's a big scam, man. This entertainment thing. You guys are on the right side of it.
The CDs to streaming thing, that was a horrible thing for You guys?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always compare it to, like, say one day you come to your kitchen sink and you turn it on and Coke comes out. I mean, you would never go to the store and buy Coke again. You know what I mean? You just go to the kitchen. That's what happened to music. I mean, all of a sudden you can just get it wherever you want and share files. And why would you ever go buy a CD again? And now you're seeing it happen in television as well. You're seeing the way that the streamers have changed the game, you know, and I mean, obviously you guys work for one, I work for one. That's where the business is going, but it is changing the bottom line. Network TV is becoming a thing of the past. It's a kind of a dinosaur model, and it's going to change the economics of it, just like it did for music. It's just kind of the way it's going.
Nick, I got to ask you this, and this is a very specific question from our producer Darren's wife. All right. So one of their favorite couples on the show was Alexa and Brennan from season 3. And they want to know, are you surprised that they're getting divorced? Does that surprise you?
You know what? I honestly don't know them well enough to say I'm surprised or not surprised. I don't know the inner workings of why that didn't work out. I know they have a baby, which that kind of sucks extra when you have kids involved, you know?
No doubt.
So I feel bad for them, but it really is. It's just a reflection of, I think, marriage in general. You know, some work and some don't. And so I honestly don't know them well enough to say that I'm surprised or not surprised, but I am bummed for them, like I am for every one of the couples that doesn't work out.
After listening to this conversation and getting to know you a little bit more and your passion, I've seen your passion on Twitter, but your passion for the Bengals.
He's not playing around, Fitz. He went and saw Ray Anderson, damn it.
Dude, you're not playing around. So if we have a game in Cincinnati this next year, or Cincinnati versus Baltimore, whoever it is, I would love to ask our producer to get you on the desk.
Oh, yeah.
To talk a little Bengals football, baby.
Do it.
Guys, I mean,
that would be awesome.
It's pretty safe to say that the Bengals aren't going to invite me back. So if I'm going to be at the game, it's going to have to be with you guys.
We'll get you some.
Yeah. You're talking to the ruler of the jungle there, Andrew Whitworth.
I've joked that, and I kind of mean it. The only rulers of the jungle lately have been the visiting team. So, I mean, that's the whole ruler of the jungle thing.
He's going in. I love it.
We got the Flacco game, though. We got the great Flacco game.
That was insane.
I was so happy for him. I mean, obviously, our defense couldn't hold a lead to save our lives, and we lost some heartbreakers there. But, I mean, to see that guy come out and ball out the way he did, I thought it was awesome.
We were staying in the same hotel as him. He had just been there for a week or whatever it was. Like, he's drinking his coffee, walking around at noon. He was like, man, I hate these late games. I got nothing to do during the day. Just walking by himself, didn't know anybody. And then he hung out with us after the game. It was great.
Love it.
Yeah, a little rooftop beer. It was great.
Yeah, a little rooftop. Well, we know you got stuff to do, so...
I appreciate it, guys.
If you need to pop off, we just want to thank you for your time, dude.
I appreciate you guys, and thanks for your years with the Bengals, man. We obviously the city enjoyed both of you being there, and hopefully better days ahead for our squad. But appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Right,
thanks, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood Prediction Markets.
It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market.
You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter.
Robinhood Prediction Markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it.
I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people.
You're no longer just a spectator. You play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin.
Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Wow, what a guy. Now, I had heard you told me he was passionate.
Passionate, baby. He's got some thoughts. All right.
He came on this thing with an agenda. It wasn't even passion. I mean, he had to get some points across, but obviously he's been a super fan for a long time, and you could sense some frustration there.
My man went and saw Ray Anderson. I mean, he was checking league circles. I mean, he wanted to know how much money they're spending. I love that. That is not playing around. That's not like, hey, I'm a fan of the team and I like to rock a jersey. That is like, hey, I'm checking up on, are you guys doing everything you're supposed to be doing to make sure we're a winner? He's a blast, man. I'm very grateful for him. As I shared, when I first signed with the Rams in 17, he was the first guy that kind of helped me find a place. You're moving your entire family across the country. Him and Vanessa and their family were awesome to us, and our friend Jerry Birmingham and her husband Will, and Will Lee, literally were so awesome to us, helping us find where we were going to live. So Nick's a good friend, been a friend for a long time. Back in the old 06, 07 days when I first got there, I used to run around.
Oh, it's a different version of Whit.
Yeah, we used to have a good time together, me and Nick. So great dude, great family. Just good to see him, man. But man, what a passionate dude. He loves his Bengals and his Reds.
Loves them. I wanted to give a quick shout out. I'm wearing the Cincy hat today. When Ted Karras was signed by the Bengals, he brought over this Cincy hat. It was a fundraiser for the Village of Marici, which I've done my shoes for when we auction off the shoes each year. The My Cause, My Cleats deal. They've raised over $2.5 million, and awesome. All from selling these hats. And he gives out scholarships. So he gave out 2 4-year scholarships to college campuses for intellectual and developmental disabilities. So he has a huge passion, and now what he's doing is they're going to start building houses. And awesome. This is actually similar to Gigi's Playhouse, which I've become involved with the last few years. My nephew, Rebel, was born with Down syndrome. And so Gigi's Playhouse is a place where you have all these different families that have kids with Down syndrome that can go, and they can be a part of the community. And everything is provided for free, and it gives the kids a great space to play with kids that are just like them. And, they grow all the way to adults in these houses and do wonderful things. So I just wanted to shout out man. Teddy Karras.
Shout
he's
out,
the man.
Teddy.
These Cincy hats have really taken off and are super cool. We should probably send Nick Lachey a Cincy hat.
We got to do that for sure. We'll send him a whole thing of Cincy gear.
This next segment, Whit, is brought to you by Robinhood Prediction Markets. So we know our Bengals need some work.
Time for some predictions. All right.
Well, what positions, if you're the GM, what positions are you targeting to be able to get this roster to where it needs to be?
Well, I think this is a pretty easy one. Defense would be a great place to start. So here's what I would say. And we touch a little bit on this in the podcast with Nick about, the aggression and just wanting to see the Bengals sell out. And it's like, man, you've got the weapons they have on offense, and people can criticize, whatever they want around the Bengals and Zach Taylor and all that, but he's an offensive coach, and this offense has been unbelievable. And where they've really struggled is that the talent they've drafted on defense has not been good. And so if I'm sitting there going, what do we got to do? We can't miss. This is the most critical year in this era under Joe Burrow, in my opinion, of evaluation from that position in the draft and free agency. How do we add the defensive weapons that take us over? And so if you think back to the beginning of this Joe Burrow run when they got Joe Fitz, don't forget that they got Trey Hendrickson. That's how they got him in free agency. They brought him in, Trey Waynes. They brought in a couple of veteran guys who came about to the Cincinnati Bengals team and brought in a little bit of stability, a little bit of some guys that had been places and won. They were kind of pros, and then they matched them with all this young talent. And I think they need an injection like that this offseason. Is it going after a guy like a Demario Davis and see if he's available? If it's trading for Maxx Crosby and something that could be, really needing picks and obviously that'd be a lot of capital trying to figure out how to get that worked out. But that would be the young guy, tone setter, the example for your defense every single day. You got some D linemen there that are young guys who you want to play better. Put one of the hardest playing, best guys that any young D lineman could follow in the world and Maxx Crosby around them. Pay him the money, spend the draft pick, the 10th pick, send it if you have to. Put the example in the room. So to me, My biggest prediction, Fitz, go get Maxx Crosby at all costs, because it ain't about the player. That's going to be great, but it's the influence and the impact he'll have on that D line and that group. And you can go get some more draft picks, because the other part they got to worry about, Dalton Risner, he was a big part who came in and kind of solidified this lineup this past year at right guard. They got to figure out how to keep him. That's going to be a huge thing for them, keeping him in-house, because you don't want any kind of flux and change in that offensive line group for Joe Burrow. Keep that group steady, and talent on defense. They got to shoot their shot, but they got to hit. They got to hit this time, or I think this era is going to be in trouble.
GM Andrew Whitworth, go get Maxx Crosby.
Let's go, baby. Come on, we need something to just fire people up, Fitz. Nick Lachey would be all for it, all right? He might actually
just
come
a little
back.
Infusion, yeah.
Yeah. he would come back and say, you know what, Mike Brown's the best. I think that's what he would say is Mike Brown is the best if that happened, man.
All right, so Bengals right now, state of the Bengals, Joe Burrow, big question about him now is health. And unfortunately, like if you look at his injuries with the ACL, well, it was everything, all the ligaments, but the ACL, and then it was the wrist, and then it was turf toe. They all seem just like a little bit unlucky.
Don't forget the calf. Missed all the camp the year before in the calf. I mean, it's always been some kind of little, right?
Something, right? But it's just like, I don't know. There's injuries, I think you can fault guys for preparation, or maybe he's injury prone, and some of these just feel unlucky. And maybe it's the amount of time he's getting hit or the pressure that he's facing and all that. But I think it's a serious question if you're a Bengals fan that's going to linger in the back of your mind of, all right, when is it? Because we've seen this before. Like, when is it that Joe's going to get tired? When is it that Joe's going to want to go play for, say, the LA Rams? He's got a nice big house in LA, and if he doesn't, he'll probably have one soon, or the Miami Dolphins. Or so you've kind of been through this before with Carson Palmer, but what's your take on Joe Burrow and staying with the franchise?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. You see a lot of these guys now, whether it be, like you said, Miami, LA, New York, whatever it may be, they're going to go get on the coast somewhere in a big city, and that's what they like to spend their off seasons. And so a guy like Joe, he loves me. We've seen him at Fashion Week. We've seen him everywhere, right? He's all over the place. Guy likes to live his life and have a good time. And, I think it's funny, Fitz, we had this conversation, if you remember, on Thursday Night Football. He had the press conference that day where that did not sound like Joe Burrow. And we were all like, man, what's going on? In his mind, and is it injuries? Is it frustration of and I kind of told you guys, man, I mean, as worldly as he is and just what a great dude he is, man, there's no way when you have that many injuries and that many years in a row where you're battling and rehabbing, you talk to any guy that's been through those kind of processes, it messes with you mentally and it frustrates you. And so I think you start to get a sense of, man, something positive's got to happen. So you get a little antsy in that world of man, I want to see the positivity come out of this team. And then at the same time, you're just really frustrated with just your body. And so I think there's a lot of emotions there that I think he's kind of walked out of some of those comments and said, man, I just had a bad day. But I think Nick brought up the biggest fear. And that is, what you said as well, does it come to a day where he says, I don't want to play here anymore? And he's an Ohio guy, and he doesn't want to play there. I think that would be, probably a really tough pill to swallow for Bengals fans, for honestly the Bengals organization in general, just because this isn't the Carson situation where at least you have this Cali kid from USC that's there. You got a kid who's homegrown from Ohio, and we can't figure out a way to make him happy and feel like we're doing the best to put him on the field every week. It's frustrating. And I'll take fans back to, it's not just what it does to Joe Burrow. I think it does a lot in general to your whole franchise. I'll never forget when Carson Palmer made his stance that he was never going to play again for the Cincinnati Bengals. That was, I was going into my fifth year, just finished, just played with T.O. and Ocho Cinco, Batman and Robin.
Yeah. 09.
That year ends and
10. That was 2010, right?
To the 10, yeah. That year ends 09. We won the division with Cedric Benson and running the ball, and we were a physical team, great defense with Zimmer, and we lose to the Jets in the playoffs. And then 2010, it's the Batman and Robin show. It doesn't go well. I think we lost 10 in a row at one point. Wasn't a great one. It started okay, and then it just ended poorly. Yeah. It started for about 5 weeks. It was okay, and then it got bad quickly. But after that season, he's like, I'm out. You remember this? This is people are throwing stuff in his yard. People, the whole thing's happening. Honestly, a lot of what happened to, supposedly happened to Kevin Patullo's family with just fans getting so angry and upset. That was happening to Carson. And he was like, man, I don't want any more to do with this. I don't feel like that. Now, let's give credit. This wasn't the Joe Burrow era in the sense of the money they've spent on offense. At that time, they were not doing that at all. And Carson Palmer was like, that's it. I'm tired of it, and I don't want to play here anymore. And I hate it because even for me, I was a young player, young captain. I'd been a captain for a few years at that point. And, I hated it because it ended up affecting even me and Carson's relationship for years to come and until we got a chance to kind of sit down. But it's like, because as me, I mean, Carson was, you don't just think of how it affects Joe Burrow. Think of Jamar Chase. Think of T. Higgins. Think of these young offensive linemen there, D linemen there that all look up to him. Chase Brown. Like, think of these guys that look up to him, because I know for me, it was like, man, it affected our relationship after that, because I was like, man, you're walking out on us, like you can't do this, because I looked up to Carson Palmer like the big brother I never had. Like, I worshiped the ground that Carson Palmer walked on. Like, I thought Carson Palmer was the greatest leader I'd ever been around. He was one of the best dudes I'd ever been around. Like, I had never been around somebody like him before. And so that was like my big brothers, like leaving the house and saying, I don't want to be part of the family anymore. And I'm like, damn, like and so I hated it because it created a little bit of rift between us. But the truth was, it's like, that's who I looked up to. And I'm sure that building, a lot of those guys, like the dude, I've seen Joe Burrow in the offseason. He's been to my gym before. I've been around him. The way he works, as dedicated as he is to being good at what he does, like, these guys look up to him. And so it's not just about how it affects Joe Burrow's life. This is going to affect a lot of guys around him and how they go about their business and really, the way they look up to him. And so that's what these things do, man. They put a guy like that who's a legendary player in a place where he's got to do what's best for him. And inevitably, we all have to do that at some point. It's very similar to contract negotiations and everything else. And I just would hate for it to ever get there. But I think this year is the most critical time in Bengals history up to this point, in the Joe Burrow era and probably in the Duke Tobin era of being with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been there a long time. But if they can't put a roster together this year, I think it's going to be a challenge for that group not to be pretty upset with being there.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on to your Carson Palmer stuff for a second, because I got to be with him in my third and fourth years, and there were lessons that I learned just from watching him. The way that he went about his business every day, the toughness that dude showed, and then he had every right to put himself on a pedestal, Heisman winner, number one pick, everything, but
never
he wanted to make sure
that
he never treated people that way, and you never felt that way either around him.
Nope.
And those were two of the biggest traits, the way he made people feel and how tough he was. And he shouldered all the blame, no matter if it was his fault or not. Like, those are some important qualities you need to have as a quarterback. And sitting back for 2 years and watching him and the way he handled himself, I mean, I took that with me for the rest of my career, and I'll take it with me for the rest of my life, because he was certainly somebody I looked up to and continue to look up to this day.
Yeah, that was the thing, Fitz. At that point in my career, I didn't have a family. Melissa and I were married, but, we're about to have kids the next year. So, you're living in a different place than he was. He had children. He's in this place where he's trying to figure out what do the next 10 years of his career look like and what is he chasing. And so we were in two different places in that. But my respect and admiration for him as a man and a human being, he's still one of the greatest people and leaders as far as NFL football players I've ever been around in my life. And it was unfortunate that, for me, I was this young, hungry, warrior for the franchise that puts, I'm pretty wired that way. Whoever's on my helmet, as I always say, I'm a one logo person. Like, I will do anything by any means necessary to make them successful. And so, I was in this point of like, I want to defend our family, and you're my big brother that I look up to. And it just led to us having a little bit of a rift there and that. But then it was so cool to see his career continue, and then hear guys in Oakland and in Arizona talk about getting to be around Carson Palmer. I was like, man, listen, I'm the bitter ex-girlfriend, if you will, or whatever. But like, I wish I was still around him, because I know the impact he had on me and the human being he was, man, because it was great to be able to catch up with him in recent years. But what a man he was. And so that's my point. I think Joe Burrow is a special dude too. And I just hope it never gets to that with this organization, and they realize that, man, every now and then, just like you want a player to go out there and play his absolute best and play with aggression and shoot their shot, like, as an organization, man, sometimes those players and those coaches are looking at you the same way. Like, will you go out there, shoot your shot, play aggressive when it comes to free agency, the draft, and say, by any means necessary, we're going to go win together? Sometimes I think as an organization, you've got to send that message, because that was the message that was sent when I was an LA Ram, when we traded for Jalen Ramsey and when we traded for all the different players that came in during my era. And then, oh man, like, hey, you know what? We're going to go get Matthew Stafford, who's available. We're going to trade away Jared Goff because we feel like we're this close. And that's the difference as a veteran quarterback. Like, we will shoot our shot. to go win a championship. And I understand those are two different markets, two different teams, but I think sometimes players need to feel it from up top that there's a sense of urgency that now's the time, and we're going to send the message that we're going to go get it.
And I want to give a quick shout out to Bengals fans because I think it's a very underappreciated market in terms of, like, those are some of my favorite games that I got to play in, or at least got to be at and watch. I'll never forget the first game when I got traded after training camp and on cut day, and had a week to prepare for that first game, being the backup. And thank God Carson was there and I didn't have to go in not knowing what to do. But it was against the Baltimore Ravens, and that setting, the fans are unbelievable. That place gets loud. They care about their Bengals. And I just think that I think there are particular fan bases that don't appreciate their teams, the smaller market ones like the Cincinnati Bengals do.
Yeah, so I think that's the tough thing, Fitz. Shout out to the Bengals, baby, and their fans, because it is true. Sometimes we lump whether you love their organization from the top down or whatever with fan bases. And I hate that, because to me, that Bengals fan base in that city, like, I loved living in Cincinnati. It's one of my favorite places ever. And I still love going there. It's one of our favorite places in Thursday Night Football for sure, because it feels like I'm back home. But also that city, it fits. And you know this, because we were what we were, 4-11-1. Like, I don't care if you're 0-8 or you're 8-0. I never felt a difference when I was playing a home game in Cincinnati. Those fans were just as passionate. They cared just as much, and they wanted to win in that moment just as bad. And I never felt a difference in their energy or their support in any of the 11 years I was there, whether we were contending for playoffs or whether we were out of it. Their passion and love was always the same. Now, when they stopped me at the grocery store and told me to stop holding sometimes, Melissa Whitworth might not have had She might not have been as friendly about it as I was, but that was the reality. They are passionate and they care. Heck, that might have been Nick Lachey, now that I think about it, that stopped me. I don't know. I got to figure it out.
That's what we just learned. He's crazy.
He's crazy. But that's what Bengals fans are, baby. They want to win, man. So let's make this happen. It would be great to see. I think we said this last year, seeing Chicago, some of these other places start to become winners again would be huge. What has happened last year with the Bears was awesome. Cincinnati again, like, let's get them back in the playoffs, back in that AFC championship. I think that'd be awesome. Let's go to make you happy. Let's go Bills Bengals in the AFC championship next year. That would be sick.
I would love it as long as the Bills won. I've been to a Bills Bengals playoff game that didn't really go so well for the Bills, but anyway, all right. I got a beard of the week, and this one, look, I told you last week, I had a few that I found. Waste Management Super Bowl. This guy. Wow. I'm scrolling down looking at this right now. It is unbelievable.
Rubber band right there. Yeah, he's got to band it up too.
Golly. You think about that. So think about the guy when we had that competition at Hoppa's, the guy that it was real long, but it was just kind of looked a little, it was gross and all over the place. Look at this one. He puts a rubber band about 3/4 the way down. It shapes everything. It makes it look nice. Now, the crazy thing about this dude, he was right outside of our hotel, the St. Regis. He doesn't put oil in it. He doesn't put balm in his beard. There's a particular shampoo that he uses.
I was about to ask you, because the way it's so smooth and he has it in the band, I thought that's because he's putting oil in it and he's putting it together. So that's not what it is.
But one of those things where I had to ask him, because I was like, dude, your beard is like maybe the best beard I've ever seen. What do you, because it had volume to it too. Yeah. And it's got a great color. It's a shampoo or a conditioner that you can only buy from Australia. And I was like, wait, what? Like, there's no, and he's like, yeah, sometimes you can't get it. Sometimes, you get thrown on the wait list and it takes a couple months. And so anyway,
we're going to have to grab some when we go to Australia.
I don't remember what the product was called, but yeah. Are we working that out with the Rams?
Come on, we're going to figure it out. We got to go to Australia. Come on.
Which, by the way,
we're coming, Rams, whether you want us or not.
There's going to be some issues, though. There's going to be some people that are pissed off if they have the opening game not as Seattle on Thursday, but as Rams San Fran on Wednesday. That bucks the tradition. Yeah. I know it's a logistical nightmare, but I mean,
yeah, we're going to start with Seattle, Arizona, so we can just have an NFC West. NFC West kicks off the Super Bowl. Right away, kicks off the 2026 season NFC West for you, folks.
Yeah, I'm sure the schedule makers have that one circled. Seattle, Arizona.
There we go.
Anyway, that's our beard of the week. I would say he's up there, probably as impressive as anybody we've seen.
That's a good one.
And
Well done,
when I
buddy.
heard his maintenance routine, first, I wouldn't work for me because you'd have to shower probably 4 or 5 times a week to do that with the
Yeah,
shampoo.
you're not doing that.
No. But anyway, thank you for bringing Nick Lachey on today. That was awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
what a great dude.
That's it for us. We'll be back March 4th with our free agency preview. Fitz and Whit is a Wave original. Big thank you to Nick Lachey for joining us. Thanks to our production crew as always. And thank you to all you beardos for tuning in. We will see ya March 4th. Peace.
Peace.